Please like and subscribe my channel. Chapter 316 Outside Zealand Valley. Quit bullshitting. That guy definitely embezzled our money and is now trying to frame a scapegoat on purpose. Right, that Zhang Zan I've heard of is just a fate master who has just passed the assessment. He hasn't even reached the galaxy realm, and you're saying he's impersonating you, Elder Bai Yi, have you no shame? Why don't you say that he's the one who caused your injuries too? Elder Bai Yi clenched his teeth and trembled all over. The injuries on my body, indeed, they were caused by him. Bullshit. You can actually come up with such an absurd excuse, it's completely shameless. So you're saying you don't want to repay your debt, huh? Fine, let's just beat you to death. Ellipsis. A short hour later, Elder Bai Yi stood in front of an aerial origin beast, full of injuries and with a face ready to cry. If not for his quick reaction, agreeing to enter Zealand Valley, leading the way for everyone, and offering all the artifacts found to repay his debt, he probably would have been beaten to death by the angry mob just now. Zhang Zan, I swear I won't rest until I've killed you. His teeth were clenched, and his body trembled slightly. He had thought the other party was just a small fry who hadn't even broken through to the galaxy realm, but as a Vice Hall Master of Heaven Mandate Hall, a Galaxy 6 Dan Peak expert, it should have been easy to teach him a lesson. He never dreamed that after all the effort, it was as if nothing had happened to him, while he himself had plummeted in cultivation, lost an arm, had his estate sold off, and was even heavily in debt. This vendetta cannot be shared under the heavens. Zealand Valley was less than 300 miles from Zui City. It took less than half an hour for the aerial origin beast to arrive. This valley was a vast and boundless gorge, its end out of sight, with steep cliffs covered in strong vegetation as if an ancient forest. Controlling the aerial origin beast to land at the valley's sole entrance, this place was already crowded with people and a variety of aerial origin beasts. As a region ranked 21st in the Heaven Mandate domain, it was filled with countless treasures. Its sudden opening attracted not just the Zhou dynasty, but also other surrounding dynasties and even some powerful clans and massive gates. Anyone who was close by had come in large numbers. Shi Yunjing, the Hall Master of Zui, was indeed powerful, but he didn't stand out here. Perhaps even an unassuming beggar or cook could have killed him. Landing on the ground, Elder Bai Yi looked around, thinking about how to find the experts he had invited and how to discuss making a big splash in the domain for greater benefits, when he suddenly saw a huge black-scaled phoenix hawk land in front of him. Upon clearly seeing the figure standing on the back of the primordial beast, his eyes immediately turned red. It was none other than Zhang Zan. Zhang Zan, I want you dead. Shaking with rage, Elder Bai Yi couldn't hold back any longer. With a roar, he charged at the young man. Elder Bai Yi, what are you doing? Before he got close, a few elders of the Fu family stepped in front of him, their eyebrows raised and full of displeasure. In Zui City, the Fu family was considered a major clan, so being blocked as soon as they arrived, no matter who it was, they couldn't just let it slide. Fu Qingyao, this has nothing to do with you. I am here for Zhang Zan. Elder Bai Yi's Mo Dao trembled in his hand, dispersing saber qi and emitting a strong oppressive aura. Zhang Zan is a guest of our Fu family. To disrespect him is to oppose our Fu family, the leading elder narrowed his eyes. This was none other than the first elder of the Fu family, Fu Qingyao, a Galaxy 6 Dan expert. Although her rank was much higher than Elder Bai Yi's, she would surely be no match for him in a real fight. It was at this moment that a faint voice came from the back of the Phoenix Eagle. Zhang Zan smiled as he jumped down. First Elder, you flatter me. This is my personal matter, I'll handle it. All right. Seeing him stepping forward, Fu Qingyao nodded. Don't worry, if he dares to make a move, our Fu family won't be afraid. Thank you. Zhang Zan looked gratefully at her and then turned his gaze to Mo Bai in front of him, his expression filled with anger. Master Mo, you kidnapped my student, claiming that as long as I gave you 3,000 destiny plates, you would return her before the opening of Zealand Valley. I've already paid, so where is looming you now? 3,000 destiny plates. Mo Bai was startled. When did I ever ask you for so much money? And when did you ever give it to me? Oh no, this guy is spouting nonsense. Turning an iron shade of green and about to refute, he saw a young man not far away, tears welling up in his eyes. You are the leader of the Mo Blade sect and the Vice Hall Master of Heaven Mandate Hall, with unparalleled power, while I, I'm just an ordinary cultivator who only became a true Fate Master after passing an assessment a few days ago. Compared with you, naturally, I can't match up in anything. But you can't break your promise, taking away the destiny plates and then pretending ignorance. Intimidating someone's student, extorting destiny plates in exchange. Taking away the artifacts, but not releasing the person, isn't that too much? Is this the behavior of a Vice Hall Master from the Heaven Mandate Hall in Zui City? Ellipsis. Zhang Zan's voice, filled with a special momentum, spread out like a tidal wave. Everyone tends to sympathize with the underdog, Mo Bai being a Galaxy 6 Dan expert and the Vice Hall Master of Heaven Mandate Hall. While Zhang Zan was just a minor figure, no matter how you looked at it, it was a situation that engendered sympathy. Sure enough, after hearing the explanation, indignation filled the surroundings, with anger written on everyone's faces. Don't listen to his nonsense, Zhang Zan. When did you ever give me destiny plates? Seeing the public's mood turning sour, Mo Bai's complexion darkened, unable to contain his rebuke. This was a private transaction, you denying it now leaves me without any recourse. But, in front of so many experts, have you kidnapped my student, or have I wronged you? Zhang Zan said. Your student was rude to me, and indeed I captured her. Seeing the crowd's gaze turning on him, Mo Bai gestured with a sweep of his hand. It's good that you admit it. You captured my student, and fearing she might be hurt, I paid you with destiny plates for her release. This matter, your disciple Min Zhongtao can testify for me. Zhang Zan asserted. Min Zhongtao. Mo Bai's eyelid twitched, a premonition of ill fortune growing in his heart. Before he could dwell on this feeling, Min Zhongtao stepped out from the crowd, bowed with clasped hands. Everyone, I am indeed a student of Elder Mo, Min Zhongtao. Although he is my teacher, I must speak objectively. What young friend Zhang Zan mentioned is correct. My teacher, indeed kidnapped his student and extorted 3,000 destiny plates. You. Seeing this renegade student turning against him at this time, Mo Bai was so furious he was about to explode, on the verge of lashing out. Master Mo, if you still won't acknowledge it, then tell me, did you have some urgent need for money yesterday? Not only extorting me but also borrowing from others. This matter, there should be quite a few people who have experienced it firsthand and can testify for me. Zhang Zan looked around. It's true, Mo Bai was indeed borrowing money from everyone yesterday. Yes, he also borrowed 100 origin currency from me. I still have the note here. As the young man's words were heard, many Fate Masters around started discussing, and once again all eyes were on Mo Bai, each pair filled with suspicion. Chapter 317 Entering Zealand Valley. If just now people still had some doubts about Zhang Zan's words, now there was no doubt left. This guy still owed them a debt with exorbitant interest. In such a dire need of money and after having kidnapped someone's disciple, swindling them, naturally, there wasn't much of a problem anymore. Hearing the admissions from the people of Heaven Mandate Hall, countless cultivators suddenly looked over with peculiar expressions. Mo Bai's reputation, while known to many, had surprisingly revealed such a despicable side. Of course, it was only because he hadn't encountered Zhang Zan sooner. If he had, he would have been notorious for his despicable acts much earlier. It was you who disguised as me, borrowing money everywhere. Seeing the crowd's threatening looks, Mo Bai was so furious he was almost exploding with anger, trying to explain, but found that no matter what he said, it seemed feeble and powerless. Yes, just let my student go, and I'll admit it was me who impersonated you to borrow money everywhere. Zhang Zan's face was sullen, a picture of resigned acceptance. You. Mo Bai trembled with rage. I'm going to kill you. With a flick of his Mo Dao destiny, his tall figure charged toward the young man opposite him. Before he even got close, he felt a powerful surge of energy in front of his chest, and immediately saw Fu Qingyao appearing before him once again. At this moment, the first elder of the Fu family, with her eyebrows raised and lips trembling with anger, suddenly slapped Mo Bai across the face. As a Galaxy 6 Dan Peak Saint, she certainly surpassed him in terms of cultivation level, but Mo Bai practiced the Mo Dao destiny and was powerful in combat. Even though he had recently been weakened by a backlash, his combat abilities were still not to be underestimated. Under normal circumstances, her slap wouldn't be able to harm him in the slightest. Just as Zhang Zan was gathering his strength to counterattack, a crisp sound echoed through the air. Slap. Fu Qingyao's hand clearly struck Mo Bei's face, leaving a distinct imprint of her fingers. Zhang Zan blinked, feeling puzzled, when he heard the first elder's angry roar. Mo Bai, I didn't expect you to be this kind of person. It's a good thing I didn't accept your pursuit back then. Quote. There was a stunned silence all around, even Zhang Zan stood rooted to the spot. Who would have thought that these two had such a past? Accusations on the internet had suddenly turned into watching the drama unfold. Qingyao, it's not what you think, it's this guy, Mo Bai tried to explain once more. Enough. This time, it was Master Shi Yunjing of the Heavenly Destiny Hall who spoke. The larger the scene in front of them grew, the more disgraceful it was for Heaven Mandate Hall. Master, do you also not believe me? All of this is Zhang Zan's trickery, Mo Bai gritted his teeth. Shut up. Master Shi waved his hand, from today on, you are expelled. Not only are you no longer the Vice Hall Master, but you are also no longer a member of Heaven Mandate Hall. Our Zhouyi dynasty does not allow such a scourge in its presence. No matter whether the things he said were true or not, with so many witnesses, he could not be allowed to stay. Otherwise, he too would sink into the mire and never be able to wash himself clean. After all, he was the guarantor of those loans. Master, Mo Bei's face turned deathly pale. Owing his status as Vice Hall Master, even the Fate Masters who were in debt, though unhappy, had to restrain themselves. Without his position, he feared that as soon as he entered Zealand Valley, he would face debt collection and likely be assassinated. What was even more important was that the Hall Master's decision indicated that everyone believed Zhang Zan's words, that he borrowed money, kidnapped, and swindled people. In a situation where words failed him, Zhang Zan stepped forward once more, bowing with his fists clasped. I implore Master Shi to be the arbiter, and have him hand over my disciple. Right, hand him over quickly. Damn it, we've paid the money, and you still won't release him, not even bandits are this shameless. How can such a person be worthy of being a Fate Master? It's a complete disgrace. The crowd buzzed with discussion, as Fate Masters from other regions looked on. Mo Bai, hand him over now. Do you really want to force me to take action? As more onlookers gathered and the uproar intensified, Shi Yunjing could no longer hold back, and raised his voice in reprimand. Fine, I'll hand her over, knowing that a refusal would result in immediate action from the other party. Mo Bei's face was the color of iron, yet he had no way out. It was clear that he was the one at a disadvantage, yet nobody believed him. Who could be more wrong than me? Boom. Just as he was about to comply, the ground suddenly shook violently. A massive force erupted from a distant valley, tearing a long, narrow rift in the colorful sky as if it were cut with scissors. Zealand Valley has opened. Get ready quickly, first come first served for the artifacts. With a bit of luck, you might even inherit this divine realm. On seeing this spectacle, someone shouted out, and Shi Yunjing couldn't help but look up, clenching his fists involuntarily. The opening of this Heaven Mandate domain could lead to an abundance of artifacts, and the capture of the Mandate Chaos Master, which was all to his advantage. Success would undoubtedly grant him an artifact to break through to Galaxy 6 Dan and rise meteorically. Hall Master, Mo Bai has escaped. While contemplating how to reap the greatest benefit, a voice from one of the elders rang out. Shi Yunjing hurriedly looked up to see Mo Bai, who had been right in front of him just a moment ago, now sprinting towards the opening of the divine realm. Thinking I would pave the way for you. Dream on. With the domain open, everyone relies on their own abilities. With a loud laugh, Mo Bai rushed toward the rift ahead, his body glinting with light before he disappeared from the spot. Damn it! Shi Yunjing's expression darkened. Previously in the Heaven Mandate Hall, Mo Bai failed to produce the Destiny Plate for repayment and agreed to lead the charge in return for a momentary forgiveness. Now, upon arriving, he turned tail and fled. His shamelessness was extreme. By the order of Heaven Mandate Hall, should anyone encounter Mo Bai within Zealand Valley, they shall be killed without mercy. With a grand wave of his hand, Shi Yunjing announced his command in a strong voice. Yes. The crowd nodded in unison. Having issued the kill order, Shi Yunjing wasted no more words and charged towards the rift's location. The others followed closely, and moments later, they too disappeared. Zhang Zan, Fu Yingying looked over. Let's go together. Knowing her meaning, Zhang Zan replied, following close behind the crowd, racing towards what lay ahead. As expected of the 21st ranked Heaven Mandate domain, the rich aura of heavenly mandate vitality assaulted them even before they had arrived. Constant practice here would undoubtedly greatly aid in understanding the fragments of the heavens and advance one's cultivation. Teacher, Mingyu. Yu Xiaoyu's face was filled with worry. Zhang Zan spoke, if I'm not mistaken, Xiaoyu will have been taken by Mo Bai into Zealand Valley, and then he'll use her to threaten me. Don't worry, the true battleground for the struggle will be inside. I will definitely rescue her. Yes. Knowing her teacher's word was his bond, Yu Xiaoyu did not say more. Reaching the rift, they entered one after another. Every figure flashed, and they all vanished simultaneously. Chapter 318 Strange Rules. From outside the valley, the interior didn't seem very spacious, and one could see the end at a glance. Upon entering the crevice, I immediately felt that something was off. Just like the 10,000 fox well before, it was as if I had entered another space. The lush trees seemed to spread far and wide, and the silence everywhere made one's heart flutter anxiously. As I looked around, Zhang Zan shook his head. Without a strong connection, the first thing to do wasn't to look for artifacts but to find people. Although Yu Xiaoyu and Hong Yi had not yet broken through to the galaxy realm, as long as they did not run around recklessly, the danger should not be too great. It seemed like a good opportunity for them to hone their skills. I leapt onto the treetops. There was no sun, no moon, and no stars in the sky, yet the entire space was exceptionally bright, as if the sky itself were a huge screen. All the light seemed to originate from there. There were no birds or primordial beasts in the sky, which made it seem quiet. But Zhang Zan didn't let his guard down. A nascent heaven mandate domain like the 10,000 fox well had the Qinghu, a galaxy realm primordial beast, so this place might have even more terrifying beings. There was heavenly mandate vitality floating around everywhere, but sitting and absorbing it would, at most, gather a few hundred or 1,000 strands in a day, which obviously wasn't very cost-effective. The places where yuan power is more abundant are definitely closer to the center. Quickly, Zhang Zan chose a direction and flew silently in that direction, but after a while, he stopped. Because he saw a familiar tree. It was the very same tree he had climbed up earlier to observe his surroundings. At the Galaxy 3 Dan Peak, running at full strength, I should have covered more than 10 miles in this while. The fact that the same tree appeared before me again was clearly not right. After hesitating for a moment, Zhang Zan formed a sword with his finger and stabbed towards the tree, leaving a huge gouge. After doing this, I sped up and continued forward. Minutes later, the sound of rustling footsteps reached my ears, and Zhang Zan stopped again, his expression turning somewhat somber. Indeed, I'm back here again. It could be said that I was mistaken before, but now, the tree in front of me still bore the mark of my own sword chi, which was definitely not a fabrication. In other words, what I always considered moving forward was actually going in circles and returning to the start. When had I gone astray? With my cultivation level and strength, not to mention a forest, even in the midst of a beguilement formation I wouldn't turn around. Yet I kept returning to the start twice in a row, which was obviously not right. After hesitating for a moment, without rushing forward, I drew the cold nether sword and stabbed towards the air. The Yuking sword technique was executed, creating a mist in the air, and soon, Empyrean Kong Shi's voice came through. Teacher Zhang, you've arrived. Since I was already here and had encountered a problem, it was natural to directly seek Empyrean Kong Shi for advice. The fact that he could rush from the outskirts into the core and trigger the divine domain flowing colors meant he must have an in-depth understanding of this place, far surpassing that of ordinary people. This was also my biggest reliance upon entering here. I have arrived. Zhang Zan detailed his situation and asked, is this a beguilement formation? No. Empyrean Kong Shi's voice rang out, this is a rule of the Heaven Mandate domain. A rule? Zhang Zan questioned. Empyrean Kong Shi explained, that's right. The Heaven Mandate domain is similar to a small world, where its rules are set by the Creator. No matter which direction you go from, you'd return to the same place. It's not because you've hit a ghost hitting the wall phenomenon, nor that you're just running in place. It's because you've violated one of the special rules. Quickly, Empyrean Kong Shi explained in detail, leaving Zhang Zan dumbfounded. As creators of a world, they naturally knew what these so-called rules were, like building a skyscraper. from its inception, one must follow the designated blueprints and cannot make unauthorized alterations. Rules are the foundation, the framework, which cannot be violated. The heaven mandate domain is different. Some provisions can be decided purely by the likes and dislikes of the domain creator. For example, in the real world, cars must travel on roads and boats must be in water, but in the domain, it can be the complete opposite. Empyrean Kong Shi stated, breaking out of this situation is quite simple, you just need not to use skills to run, that is, you can only rely on the strength of your physical body without channeling Junqi. Zhang Zan blinked, wouldn't moving around be terribly slow then? The vastness of this place surpassed imagination. Running at full strength and trying to reach the end, I didn't know how long that would take if I were just to run. Yes, but in fact, it can also be seen as a good thing. In this way, 6 Dan experts who wish to kill you won't have it so easy, Kong Shi said. Zhang Zan came to a realization. Once I started running with Junqi, I would end up back where I started. Even if someone strong wanted to kill me, they could only compete in terms of speed and stamina. It seemed nobody really could surpass me in that. What about fighting then? You can't use Junqi in combat either. Thinking of something, Zhang Zan asked. That's not the case. When fighting, you can give it your all. It's only when moving forward or fleeing that you can't use it. Empyrean Kong Shi said. Zhang Zan blinked. Competing was allowed, but not traveling. What kind of rules were these? Seemingly understanding his confusion, Empyrean Kong Shi smiled and said, don't be surprised. Each domain is different, and the rules are different. For example, you cannot shout loudly. Once the volume of your voice exceeds a certain level, you will be constrained and punished. You cannot relieve yourself wherever you wish, you cannot eat casually, and when there are many people, you cannot whisper to each other. After listening for a while, Zhang Zan was thoroughly convinced. I had thought this place was like the 10,000 Fox Well, somewhat odd but still understandable. Now it seems, it was not the case at all. If you don't follow the rules, what kind of punishment might there be? Unable to contain his curiosity, Zhang Zan asked. Empyrean Kong Shi replied, it depends on the severity of the situation. For example, shouting, the first time, might only temporarily restrict your strength, preventing you from channeling Junqi for 1 or 2 breaths. The second time, you might be afflicted with a wind knife calamity, subjecting you to a certain punishment. The third time water and fire calamity, the fourth time, is very likely to result in direct eradication. Same goes for eating. If you eat quietly, it's not a big problem. But if you smack your lips, you might also be punished. Of course, taking off shoes, farting, and such, are also not permissible. The punishments seem quite severe. Zhang Zan frowned. To be eradicated by the 4th offense, and even eating required caution. It's no wonder that the strong who had come here before were mostly never seen again. There was indeed something wrong with this place. Without prior knowledge, it would be easy to stumble, and one might even die without knowing how. No, wait. Reflecting for a moment, and suddenly coming to a realization, Zhang Zan's eyelids twitched and he couldn't help but ask, Empyrean Kong Shi, what exactly did you do? How did you figure out all these peculiar rules? Could it be, taking off shoes, farting, relieving yourself, you've done all that? Empyrean Kong Shi. Chapter 319 Green-Faced White Tiger. I didn't know at first, entering the core, even triggering the divine domain flowing colors. Naturally I also understood now. After a while, Empyrean Kong sighed heavily. Zhang Zan nodded, expressing his sentiment, you really have a strong body. If you keep obsessing over these useless matters, there's nothing worthwhile to talk about. Empyrean Kong seemed quite exasperated. Not talking about these, are there any other taboos in this place? Knowing it wasn't the time to dwell on those questions, Zhang Zan couldn't help but ask. Also, no pets allowed, no starting fires at will, no random killing, only at specific locations can one take action. Empyrean Kong listed more than a dozen rules in succession. Zhang Zan memorized them all. Having someone enter in advance was indeed convenient. Knowing these rules, firstly, he could avoid trouble, and secondly, if used well, he could also better trap Mobai. I need to continue refining the core. Speed up as well, through my sensing, among the people who came this time, there are those exceeding Galaxy 6 Dan. Empyrean Kong explained a few more sentences. All right. Zhang Zan nodded. He didn't need to investigate this point, as he had already been aware. The Heaven Mandate domain, ranked 21st on the mainland, had suddenly opened. Even though 3 days wasn't a long time, it was enough for a large number of strong individuals to make their way here. Galaxy 6 Dan in Zui Royal City could be considered the pinnacle, but in the face of even larger forces, it wasn't significant. Be wary of primordial beasts that are rodents, be cautious of the washer, and try to keep your clothes clean. Empyrean Kong continued speaking, but his speech was cut off halfway, not completely done explaining, as the surrounding mist dissipated once more, and the voice ended. Knowing that the power of the sword chi was exhausted and continuing to display might likely draw the scrutiny of the heavenly path, Zhang Zan dared not continue but instead stood in place pondering. He understood there were rules, but what was a washer? And what did keeping your clothes clean mean? What exactly were rodent-like primordial beasts? First, let's find Xiaoyu and others. It seems this place isn't as safe as I imagined. Knowing he couldn't guess it all on his own and that only seeing with his own eyes could confirm it, Zhang Zan determined the direction and continued moving forward. This time, he didn't run swiftly using Junchi, but strolled as if leisurely walking in a garden, relying solely on physical body strength for movement, indeed not encountering any ghost walls anymore. The tree he had encountered before never reappeared. Weird rules. Zhang Zan mused inwardly. As he progressed, his eye of insight was always operative, yet he didn't see any formation or spatial fluctuations, which clearly indicated that the power of the rules exceeded the observable range and was hard to detect. If not for Empyrean Kong's explanations, without spending a lot of time, he might not have realized something was amiss. He flipped his wrist, took out a heap of food, and wanted to try eating to see if it would incur any punishment, hesitated for a moment but ultimately did not dare to touch. Relying on physical body strength to jog, after about half an hour, suddenly a mark appeared in front of him, formed by 3 leaves arranged in a plum blossom shape, the middle leaf pointing towards a place. There are people from the Fu family passing by. Zhang Zan's eyes brightened. This was a mark left by the people of the Fu family. As a large family, they naturally knew that upon entering the Heaven Mandate domain, they would be directly spread out, so they had made arrangements in advance. Any disciples needed to leave marks so that later, if someone saw them, they would follow the marks and quickly gather. Following the direction pointed by the leaves, Zhang Zan ran over, and after traveling for more than 2 miles, he heard the roar of the wind ahead, as if someone was fighting. Could it be that a member of the Fu family has encountered danger? Feeling perplexed, he didn't stop moving. It didn't take long for Zhang Zan to reach the direction where the sound originated. He looked up. A figure was battling a primordial beast. It was a young woman, around 20-some years of age, cultivation somewhere between Galaxy 1 Dan and 2 Dan, dressed in pale gray clothes with a small bamboo leaf embroidered on the fabric's corner. The opposing primordial beast was a green-faced white tiger, its strength around Galaxy 2 Dan, just slightly stronger than hers. Had it not been for the artifacts and methods this woman carried, she might have already been bitten in the throat. After watching for a while, Zhang Zan couldn't help shaking his head. He didn't recognize this woman. She definitely wasn't a member of the Fu family. She wielded a pair of iron hooks as weapons. Her battle techniques were also very peculiar, completely different from those he had seen before. Being continuously attacked by the green-faced white tiger, she was now in a state of disarray. If he didn't intervene, there was a high chance she would be killed. To save or not to save. In such a place, before completely understanding the situation, it was best not to act like a saint, but watching someone being killed without acting was also not his wish. Hesitating for a moment, he activated the power of disguise, altering his appearance. At this moment, he was half a head taller and more muscular. As for his age, he appeared to be in his 30s, with no trace of his earlier features. Even though he had kept a low profile since arriving in Zui City and hadn't instigated trouble, with Mo Bai as an enemy, it was better to be prepared in advance. Anyway, with many people from Zealand Valley, not 3,000 but at least over 2,000, with many unacquainted faces, one more or less was unknown to others. With everything in place, Zhang Zan then carried his cold nether sword and approached the battling parties, stopping about 30 meters away, quietly leaning against a large tree, and asked with a slight smile, "Do you need my help?" "Who are you?" The woman wielding double hooks, not expecting anyone nearby, suddenly looked panicked, pushing back the green-faced white tiger with several moves, heavily gasping for breath. Obviously, the last two moves had greatly exhausted her. Even though she was not weak, she was still having a difficult time to recover. "I'm just passing by. If you do not need my help, I'll be on my way," Zhang Zan said. The woman hesitated, looked again at the white tiger in front of her, her heart thumping nervously. Clearly, she knew she could not defeat the mighty beast on her own. "I need help." The woman nodded, then said, "As long as you help me, after this green-faced white tiger is killed, I can give you its fur." The most valuable parts of this primordial beast were the inner core and the fur. Offering even one of these was already her biggest concession. "Fur." Zhang Zan shook his head. Then, the woman clenched her teeth, "I'll give you the inner core." Upon seeing that he still didn't respond, the woman's heart sank. "You can't possibly want both, right? I might look a bit in disarray, but if I just sacrifice, killing it is still quite easy." "Then you sacrifice, I'll take my leave." Zhang Zan waved his hand and turned to leave. "You." Seeing him truly walking away without any hesitation, the woman could no longer hold back. "Then what do you want? It can't be that you want both the inner core and the fur, right?" "I want destiny plates. I'll help you kill it. Give me 100 destiny plates." Zhang Zan spoke out. Chapter 320 Mu Zhao King. Destiny plate. The woman shook her head. "Although this guy is impressive, he's not worth that much. 100 destiny plates, 1,000,000 strands of heavenly mandate vitality were valuable anywhere. The Galaxy 2 Dan primordial beast was indeed not worth it." "All right." Zhang Zan crossed his arms in front of his chest, took 2 steps back, and leaned against a large tree. "You." Seeing that she had quoted a high price and the other party had stepped back without any intention to help, she was furious, her pretty face turning red, and she gritted her teeth. She was quite a beauty. In such situations in the past, any man would want to show off and play the hero to save the beauty. This guy, on the other hand, couldn't care less. Feeling irritated and reacting slowly, she was slapped twice in succession by tiger claws. Swelling appeared on her arm, and she could not hold back any longer. She rebuked, "Hey, don't you have any sympathy?" Not answering her, Zhang Zan stroked his chin, hesitated for a moment, then suddenly realized, "You're right." Looking down, he found an ant he had stepped on. "I'm really sorry, did I hurt you just now?" "Don't worry, I have a great deal of sympathy, I won't let you get hurt." The woman was about to explode. She couldn't help but grit her teeth in rebuke. "I'm talking about sympathy over here." "Oh." Zhang Zan picked up a stone and threw it directly at her head. "Hey, woman, how dare you harm animals, don't you have any sympathy?" Ellipsis. The woman was fuming. What kind of thought process is this? Not only her expression, but the green-faced white tiger also looked over, feeling quite satisfied with Zhang Zan. "You're good, once I kill it, if I don't chop you into mincemeat, my last name isn't Mew." With gritted teeth, she huffed coldly, the hook in her hand flew out, and at the same time, she clasped her hands together, and a jade token flew out, exploding with a boom. Instantly, a scorching strength surged around, flipping the green-faced white tiger onto the ground, tearing a fierce wound. This was probably her so-called trump card. After the explosion, her face showed distress as she grabbed the hook again and fiercely slashed down, striking into the throat of the white tiger. The white tiger struggled a few times, then stopped moving. It soon transformed into a bunch of pure heavenly mandate vitality, flowing towards her. Indeed. Seeing that, just like Qinghu at the 10,000 Fox Well, this white tiger was also composed of heavenly mandate vitality. Zhang Zan glanced at the woman. She showed no surprise, but closed her eyes and swiftly absorbed the incoming power. Zhang Zan smiled slightly. It seemed this fellow knew the basis of the white tiger, thus, her previous talks about fur and inner core were all deceptive, and naturally, her promises were false too. She wanted him to save someone without offering anything, quite stingy. However, she was stingy, and he couldn't let her have her way. After all, helping others was also his duty. Zhang Zan's spirit stirred, and his body immediately acted like a huge hole, madly absorbing. Whoosh! In the blink of an eye, the heavenly mandate vitality formed from the body of the green-faced white tiger was all devoured by him, amounting to thousands of strands. The woman was closing her eyes to absorb when she quickly noticed something was wrong because she had absorbed less than 10 strands. Such a big tiger, and you're telling me it was made from 10 strands of heavenly mandate vitality, are you kidding me? Opening her eyes full of confusion, she saw Zhang Zhan not far away, picking his teeth, then burping. The woman realized, you absorbed the Crimson Franz White Tiger's heavenly mandate vitality. Indeed, such a waste of heavenly mandate vitality dissipating. I had no choice but to reluctantly absorb it. Just a trivial matter, no need for excessive gratitude. Zhang Zhan nodded. I initially thought that although you're annoying, you don't deserve to die, but since you're asking for it, don't blame me for being rude. The woman's eyes narrowed, and she suddenly thrust the hook in her hand towards Zhang Zhan's neck. The move was very quick and sharp. Just as it was about to pierce his throat, Zhang Zhan leaned slightly forward, and a surge of saber chi burst forth. The woman's hook flew from her grasp, and her tiger's mouth split open, oozing fresh blood. Thud thud thud. After retreating 7 or 8 steps, the woman finally came to her senses, her face full of shock. She had assumed that since his age was not much more than hers, their cultivation should be similar. She never dreamed that this unremarkable fellow could be so strong. You want to kill me? Zhang Zhan stepped forward. I dare not. The woman took several steps back, clasping her hands in a salute. I am Mu Zhao King from the Bamboo Forest Sect, Holy Daughter. I meant no offense. Please forgive me. That's good, since I helped you kill the white tiger, shouldn't you pay some destiny plates? Zhang Zhan looked at her indifferently. Help me. Her face flushed red, and Mu Zhao King trembled with anger. You're helping me with what? Indeed, if I hadn't been flanking you, the green-faced white tiger would have surely run away, and you wouldn't have been able to kill it so easily. Let's do this, I won't ask for much, 100 destiny plates will suffice. Zhang Zhan nodded. You. Mu Zhao King was about to retort but, remembering his strength, she held her tongue. In such a place, with no one else around, if she were killed, she would simply die in vain. Thank you for helping me defeat the green-faced white tiger. Excuse me, the compensation is naturally due. Clenching her teeth, Mu Zhao King flipped her wrist, and a large pile of destiny plates appeared in front of her and was handed over. That's more like it. Zhang Zhan nodded in satisfaction and collected the destiny plates. I wonder, what is your name, my friend, and where do you come from? It would be good to know for when we meet again, to return the kindness. Mu Zhao King continued, speaking of repayment but actually wanting to know his identity to find a chance to retaliate. I come from Zui. Let's forget the name and origin. I always do good deeds without leaving my name. If I reveal it, it becomes meaningless. Zhang Zhan waved his hand, stepping forward and swiftly running into the distance. We shall meet again. Damn it. Watching him walk away, Mu Zhao King grew even angrier. She had revealed her identity and position, yet he still dared to extort her. Was he unafraid, or did he truly have the capability? Although I don't know who you really are. You mentioned Zui, so you must be from Zui City, Mu Zhao King pondered secretly. The techniques used to repel me just now had no saber, but it was evident that this person has a strong understanding of saber art. Once I find out which power in the Zhou Yi dynasty specializes in saber techniques, I will be clear about everything. Mu Zhao King clenched her fist. HMPH. Dared to make me suffer. Next time we meet,